Well, hello traders and investors. I'm LA Little. This is your daily NeoTA wrap. We take a look at these markets and we're doing it from a Neoclassical perspective. That means we're looking at supply and demand on the charts and we're using that information to decide when to enter, when to exit, which way to point. That's what you always want to know. That's what you've got to do if you're going to be successful at trading. You got to know which way to point. You got to know when to get in, when to get out. As far as these markets and what they did today, it was a mixed day. It was flat across the board. I'd said last night it looked like they'd try to bounce it. They did, but they gave it all up at the close. You finish flat, flat. Everywhere I look is flat. Nothing happened. Oil down again. That's been the case. Gold, silver up. Nothing else special anywhere else out here on the boards. Moving over to the indexes themselves, starting with the S&P 500. So what did you have here? You got an inside day, actually. It didn't do anything. I don't have the ending volumes. I'm doing this shortly after the close today. I'm not going to be around this evening. So what you have here is you have the same setup that you have had, and that is that you have a nominal, breakout that just gets pulled right back up into the range, and so you're doing a range trade here. So nothing special there. Moving over to the NASDAQ. Now the NASDAQ today was an interesting case because what the NASDAQ tried to do, and the broad NASDAQ, is it tried to break out. So you kind of got this range that's taking place here, the bottom of the range, top of the range up there, about halfway in. What does it do? Pulls over it, comes back in, fails to break out. That one's going to continue to trade in that lower half of this large range. You're looking at the NDX, same thing. NDX actually got over it yesterday. Today they try to go over it. They're back up under it. Stay inside. Russell was the one trying to lead to the upside today. Now the Russell couldn't actually stay up either. Russell got up a little bit higher, ends up with a doji. Now sometimes a doji ends up being a turnaround bar. It's too bad I don't have the volumes here because I'd be curious to see if the volume was lower because that would be an under over after a pullback. Let's look at the IWM and see if that gives us any indication. And that is lower volume on it. So we may have a little small reversal signal here. Under over without it being extended. In other words, not a 2-bar. Certainly not a strong signal, but a signal. So that's the only one of the group. The other two showing negative, that one showing positive. Of course, that's been the case for a long time, right? All of them are mixed. You get some that are positive, some that are negative. Moving over to the sectors real quick. What we saw here with the sectors today is a continuation of I can't do anything. Here's the SOX. Tries to push up, can't do it. Biotech. Now, biotech has been on fire. 4 days of trading to the upside. Not as much volume today, but another stretch. He gave up a good bit of it just like he did back here. This thing has gone from, 293 to 320. That's about 30. That's about 10%. 4 days. It's probably going to be about as much as it gets. Of course, I said that 2 days ago, didn't I? I don't foresee much more, but then again, when you got Momo, you got that mojo going, that's what happens. Healthcare is the other one that's benefiting from it. Let's take a look at the others here. Consumer discretionary. That one can't get any juice. That's what we saw last night. Still can't get any juice. If we move to basic materials, so basic materials, that goes sideways. So you're back inside here. And that is a bullish retest regenerate, right? So you're inside this doing a bullish retest regenerate. So the way this works is you don't want to see a breakdown of the backside. You want to see it break back up. In other words, you retest, regenerate. If it can't do it, then that was up is no longer up. If we look at some of the others, so that's basic materials. How about our safety sectors like consumer durables? They were coming in, yeah, and they've already went sideways. They're doing the bullish retest regen. Now remember, I told you, I laid this out exactly what was going to happen, right? You had the hammer reversal. I said the first time back into a bullish retest regen after more than 6 bars would get you a bounce. That's what it did, and I even said it's not going to be anything more than a bounce, and that you're going to see it come back and test that low. Here we are, folks. We're back there testing the low. Going to test it tomorrow, 55.44. Just missed it by a penny today. They'll test it tomorrow. Now, tomorrow, they won't have the juice to break it down in terms of volume. But that's not always the issue, right? You can have suspect breakouts. You can have suspect breaks below prior high volume lows. It just means they have a slightly less probability of continuance, but it doesn't mean they can't continue. So this is a big thing tomorrow for this particular sector. Because if it does continue, that's a big ABCD down. You could blow out a bunch of more lows, and you probably start blowing out some lows here on the weekly. So you got XLB, XLP, both confirmed sideways. What's the other safety sector? XLU. We already know healthcare is doing well. That's kind of a safety sector as well. And XLU, now XLU is actually set up interesting too. You're coming into 2 swing point lows. That breaks it, it's gonna come down deeper. It's gonna get a faster move to the downside, most likely. On the weekly, still looking okay. It would just be a bullish retest regen, but it'd be within 6 bars. That says you should expect the bottom third, which gets you back into that swing point high that we just looked at over on the other chart. And so what you've got is you've got these things that were, leading to the upside. They're coming back. They're consolidating. IXIC, NDX, all of them doing the same thing. Those which were leading, now consolidation. Let's look at the others. So financials. Financials came into that area today, which was the bullish retest regenerate. That low here, 2397 on the big bar. They closed just a penny over it. This should, just like we talked about with the XLP, this should bounce back out of here if it does what it should do. Probabilities are high that it should. Technology. I'm assuming technology didn't do anything today, and it didn't. Energy. Energy had the big blow off to the downside yesterday. Inside bar today tells you absolutely nothing. So it looks to me like tomorrow we expected some sort of a bounce attempt today. Tomorrow I expect them to try and take this thing lower. That's where it is tonight. I'll leave it at that. Have a great one. Take care. I'll see you next time. Good night.